Join the discussion.
Hello and welcome to Join the Discussion. My name is Geraldine Inzidu, and today I am blessed to have an amazing guest on today's episode. So I would pass it over to her so she could introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Mickey. I am a woman in an industrialized trade. I'm a journeyman, and I'm also a pageant queen and a model, so I've got a lot of experience in different industries. And Geraldine and I have met in person a couple of times before, so it's actually really nice to get to see her again.
Yes, it is. It really is. And honestly, kudos to you. You are just an amazing person overall, but the fact that you are a woman, not just in the pageant world, in the fashion industry, but a woman in STEM, and you stand on your own 2 feet, I applaud you because it is a male kind of dominated area. So thank you and kudos to you on that end. Today's topic, or just the topic in general, has been on discrimination of marginalized individuals within the workforce. So it's amazing to get everyone's perspectives from different walks of life to talk about what they've gone through, what they haven't gone through, what they experienced, and just solutions that they have that can possibly work in order to combat this human rights issue. So just being a woman, that my background is in business commerce, specification in human resource management, and I also did business law. It was, I would say, it's crazy because in post-secondary school and post-secondary institutions, it's mostly female. There's more females compared to male counterparts, but there's still such a gap when it comes to women in certain fields or in certain areas and positions, plus a wage disparity as well. So I kind of wanted to just go into a few facts that I found out that 30% or 34% of Canadians with a STEM degree are actually women. And it's unfortunate because only 25% of women are able to get jobs or positions in that field compared to 72% of males. And that's from Stats Canada. So
My mom works for Stats Canada, so I know how they do their surveying and everything like that. A lot of them are as accurate as possible.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, thanks for that. Yeah. Can you attest to kind of those facts? Like, what would you kind of say? Have you seen a gap compared to males?
Well, there is a visible gap. There's a visible gap in seeing women to men in the ratio of it. So, like, sorry, let me just collect my thoughts for a second.
Yeah.
I do want to start off with a quick fact. One of the oldest trades that specializes in high pressure vessels, one of their oldest members and workers with experience is actually a Black woman who is now a curator for the Rosie the Riveter Museum.
Oh, no way.
So I have kind of a unique take on things based on my upbringing as well as like my time. Very few jobs I've worked with more than just one woman in my trade. However, there has been a couple of women in every trade. So I've worked with a handful of women on almost every job. I have been in the trades for just over 5 years. There is a visible like dichotomy and difference that you can see. However, there's women throughout history who have been working in these trades, and a lot of them had to do it in the same kind of moves as like the suffragettes of having to blend in a little bit with men and still be active in their own. And we really saw a rise in women in the industrial trades and in construction sector trades during war times when men went off to war and women had to pick up the brunt of it. And then it became a huge movement more so in the 50s and 60s when they got pushed back into the homes, when they still had the experience and the knowledge and the confidence to be able to actually continue on in these trades. So me as a woman in 2023 getting to work as a career, full-time career in an industrial trade, I'm really just getting to experience the beginning of the fruits of a lot of these women's labor from working really hard on these issues and to be accepted and to eliminate that wage gap and things like that. And I am union, so there's no wage gap between me and my other journeyman counterparts when we are doing the same job. I actually get paid a little bit more than some of them because I went into a little bit of a specialty on this job. So the rates are based off of position, and it's a very livable wage. So the only ones who are paid less than, say, like a fully fledged journeyman would be the apprentices. Now, every trade doesn't get paid the same, but we go under what's called a collective agreement. So a collective trades agreement is where all of the trades have boards of directors that go in and negotiate with this board of committees of the clients, the company owners. And they actually negotiate our rates as well as our raises and our live out allowances. And those are based off of rates of inflation. There's math equations that are done from that. And through that's all done with the union. So depending on your actual sector, that will determine what agreement you're actually covered under, what's protecting you. So as far as the wage gap there, it's like in my field, because I work only union, I don't experience it. And it's just based on the labor that you do is how much you get paid and whether or not you decide to work more than your 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I do want to really preface a lot of this with my experience are very unique to other people's experiences. I had an upbringing where my mom and dad did not treat me any different than my brother. He's 8 years older than me, so if I couldn't do something he couldn't do, it was strictly because I wasn't old enough yet. And it had nothing to do, and they found other things that I could do so that I could still get an outlet for my energy and for my creativity, and they've always supported me in anything that I've wanted to do. And I actually make more than my brother, who's 31 years old. He has more in assets, I make more hourly, and it's a really cool kind of area that we like our relationship and siblings, right? It's unique like that. Personally, I've actually experienced a lot of the protections contractually as well as policy-wise from each company that protect women. And some of those, one of the major things is third-party complaints are now taken just as seriously as first-party complaints.
Right.
To the point where there's a zero tolerance policy in a lot of companies. And I've had someone else try to protect me with good intentions by actually exercising that right to make a third-party complaint. And because it was such like a new thing to do, my foreman at the time was a woman, and I looked at her and I was like, what do I do? Can you guide me through this? Because I did not personally take offense to the event that happened, and the other person did not take offense. It was the third party that witnessed it who was upset about it. And it was just like, it was just a conversation he and I had, and we were joking with each other, and we knew that, but the third party didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of protections in place, and it's a really weird world, because if you see boys interact with each other, there's a lot of times where you'll see them constantly teasing each other and like shoving each other around and roughhousing and making jokes and stuff like that. And you still get treated that same way when you're a girl if you show that you're comfortable with it.
Exactly.
Right? If you show that you find those things funny, that you understand like the intent behind it, that it's not malicious or anything like that. And that's just, you'll find that in anywhere that you see guys, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that aren't so different anymore in the trades from normal jobs. There's a lot of benefits in different corporations if you stick with the companies, and there's a lot of benefits as far as union goes for protecting their members. And just personally, I'm in a brotherhood, so we treat it like a brotherhood. Someone needs to borrow money, we lend. We know we're going to have work. Someone needs an ear or shoulder to cry on, we're there. And we always try and watch out for each other. And the main slogan in a lot of industrial trades is you are your brother's keeper. Literally on your job is you watch out for each other's safety. Whatever he can't see, you're expected to see and protect him from. So if I notice someone, say, wearing contacts to work, I'm going to tell them, hey, you probably shouldn't wear contacts. Go to safety glasses, because then if you get a chemical or a gas in your eye, you can't wash it out while you're wearing contacts. Little bits of safety and stuff like that, looking out for your brothers. We do have things like women's coalitions, different committees and women's committees and different unions, so that we can create a community of girls to be able to help each other out, getting PPE that fits. There's a couple of companies. There's one actually based in my home city, Cover Gals, where they do coveralls and PPE and everything for specifically for women, and for little things that men wouldn't think of, like a normal set of coveralls. You have to completely take them off when you have to go to the bathroom. But if it's the middle of winter time, sometimes you just want to unbutton it and have the bottoms out, right? They have little innovations like that.
Okay. Oh, that's adorable. I like
There's
that.
actually a ton of infrastructure out there for women to be in the trades nowadays.
It's much better, I would say, to be honest. Much
Yeah.
better compared to, I would say, when my parents were going to school predominantly, like just my
Yeah.
dad taking architecture and engineering. He would probably say you can count on one hand if you were to see a woman in his class, let alone someone from like different nationalities. So he's like, now going out there being in different fields, you're seeing more women in more positions, which I personally,
Mhm.
especially in science and in math, I feel like it's extremely important for girls to see that women are in these positions so that they can also strive and put themselves in there as well and not be intimidated by the field or the work that's behind it. And I love that you said it's like a brotherhood. So it's nice to also be surrounded with a community of people that are all going through similar things as well. It makes it a bit more comforting, you know? And when you can go to work and you feel comfortable, then there's a higher productivity and efficiency. And, you know, it takes away ease of anxiety or depression or what others may face that don't have that same sense of community either.
Yeah. And there's still some old-fashioned guys who don't quite understand, and there's still some girls who they're so on guard
Mhm.
for that kind of response that sometimes they'll feed into it a little bit more. But yeah, there's a lot of infrastructure out there for women in the trades. The unfortunate thing about the trades is that a lot of them are hidden trades. So a lot of them are hidden away in industries and in areas that the general public aren't allowed to go and don't often see. It's not glamorized in Hollywood or on TV by any means. So it's things that's really uncommon. But if you actually go on Instagram, there is a ton of women welders who are constantly making a lot of content, education, jokes, and everything for their demographic. Same thing with women in all other parts of the industry. When I competed in Miss Universe Canada in my year, there was a woman there who she was I believe she was one of the project engineering. She had civil engineering degrees and she was a project engineering for a lot of construction. So her and I got to talk because essentially she'd be the boss that's so high up that I wouldn't be able to talk to her on
Wow.
a job.
Well, I know it's crazy that you say that because in the pageant that I previously was in for Miss Universe Canada, I met a lot of women actually in STEM, and I don't think I've been surrounded by so many females in STEM in one room ever in my life. So
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, it like I was shocked to be honest, and I learned so much from these women because it kind of it takes away a lot of stereotypes that's also associated with pageants and how they perceive women to be and what they perceive or what women do. And it was just amazing looking at all these women that are either doctors or physicians or civil engineers or into architecture or in mathematics. Like, and it kind of brought like a whole different sense and purpose. I'm like, wow, look at these badass women. Like, not only are they kicking ass in the pageant world, they're also just kicking ass and their own personal careers. And they are making blueprints, let alone, as you said, harvesting the fruits of labor that was already set from previous times of women who put themselves in those positions, So it's amazing to see different women carry on those legacies and how they speak with so much passion of what they do because they want to make a change and they want to be a difference in their careers and in their fields. And I think that's just so inspiring and so important as well, because it also just kind of motivates me to go back and initially I wanted to take a lot of courses in math. And I was intimidated at first and just hearing their stories and what they go through. And they're like, who gives a shit what people think, or if you're going to be like a handful of women in this class, like just do it, and it always pays off. So it's also great to know of all the different resources that are out there that girls can go out and research for themselves and see like, hey, there's different girls around the world doing the same thing or going through the same thing. Like, if they can do it, so can you, and we're blessed to be in Canada that has multiple resources out there. So there really is, I wouldn't say an excuse, but to kind of get out that bubble and put yourself in that space.
And actually, Canada's culture is very, very welcoming in the way of women doing unconventional things. We're a multicultural blending pot just as a nation and always have been. But on top of that, there's such a huge industry for the manufacturing, for the harvesting of natural minerals and natural resources, but there's not enough people in Canada to do it. So it's very not uncommon at all for women to do those kinds of things. And the whole saying of pants versus skirts jobs, your whole idea of what is a pants job and a skirts job ends up changing. For me, growing up in Northern Ontario, you did survival things as extracurriculars for building quinzhees, going hiking, and it was never discriminated against between girls and boys, and there's always an equal amount in each.
Yeah.
And I was always in technical classes. I was in welding for 4 years. I was not very good at woodworking when I did it, and I did architectural drafting. I did auto shop, and I work on my own vehicles all the time. And it gives yourself your own, if you can understand that, and I'm not a mechanical type thinker, but you can totally change your way of thinking into that mode to be able to fix your own situations, to be able to just tackle it. And I actually see it a lot with things like my stepmom. They've been renovating their house, and sometimes I go over to go and help them with their renovations. And there's little things like demolition's really easy. You're just taking it apart. And sometimes you just have to know what to not take apart, what not to damage, so you're trying your best. With her, she's like, I know exactly what to do, and she'll stand there and supervise and advise me of what she wants done. And I'll just start doing it. And once I start doing it, she sees, oh, it's not all that hard. And then she starts doing it. And there's a whole lot of women are more likely to kind of step back and watch to learn. And then if it's not a repetitive job or it's not a long task to do, then you end up getting left out because then you're moving on to the next task. So you can't just stop, and whereas men are more likely to just kind of jump in and try to figure it out. Now, there's obviously going to be exceptions to the rule, as there is always when it comes to humans, but that just tends to be the trend that I see and feel. And there's a lot of girls, if they just get the confidence of the momentum, things in motion tend to stay in motion. You get that motion, just push yourself forward. You'll be able to keep going. If you stop, ask questions, you'll be able to figure it out. There's resources on YouTube. I actually multiple times working on a vehicle, having to change out a part, and I've had some of my guy friends just standing there holding the light for me because I'm changing it. I've got the confidence, I've got the knowledge, I've figured it out. If I have questions, I go and I find it. So everything's there for us, and jobs are really a lot of companies that I've worked with in Southern Ontario, not so much in Northern Ontario, because in Northern Ontario you tend not to get amenities at all, and that's across the board. But in Southern Ontario, where you have things like you have like normal bathrooms that aren't just porta potties, or you have company bathrooms in buildings and stuff like that when you're working outside, I've noticed a lot of those companies will actually provide period products.
Oh, nice.
My job right now, they supply period products in all women's bathrooms,
So,
and it's mandatory of all contractors that go on site to also provide them for their women.
so important.
Yeah, it is. And
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
that little bit of solidarity, that little bit of support goes a long way. And it's just one less thing you have to think about, but it's one more thing that you're like, you know, that they're already thinking ahead for you. There's like rules with my trade where you only have to show up with your work boots. That's the only thing in your contract you have to show up with. The company provides everything else, and that's regardless. So if you don't have proper personal protective equipment to fit you, you sit in the lunchroom until your supervision is able to get it for you.
Okay, that's super important though.
There's women's specific harnesses for our own biology. The chest plates are actually up higher for the fall arrest harnesses, and they're secured there so they don't go up to the neck. And they also oftentimes have a belt going around the hips so that it stops the hips from spreading open at all during the trauma of a fall.
Okay. Oh, this is really thought through, like thought out.
Oh yeah. There's a ton for women. The government is actually like industrial corporations have really been taking advantage of the government's incentives to them. They have a lot of tax breaks and incentives for how many minorities they have in their employed, right?
Okay.
So you'll see a lot on your applications. Do you fall in any sort of minority or you can choose not to select one, but like there's recognition there. You're not invisible, but I always try and say that there's a her in brotherhood. I'm not here to change anything. There's women who have been before me who know a lot more about how this all works than I do and are better at it. They're the ones who fought for everything, and now we're just trying to use that stuff and keep it.
Yeah.
But like the girls who have done it, like I will always stand with them. I'll always be in support of them. I'm just not as good at like promoting it as they are. I just know that it's actually a lot better, at least in my experience. Now, there's other girls who may not have as much experience. You're going to get male attention in the way of guys are going to look at you when they go by. Part of it is evolutionary because something's moving. Other half of it is you're a woman. Some girls get self-conscious, so they always have to kind of crouch down to like instead of bending over to pick something up, or they won't lean into some of the more crass jokes, or they'll take offense to them. They don't like the attention, and that's totally fine for them. But for me, actually, industrial trade's kind of a safe place for me. I grew up with a lot of tense and unhealthy relationships with the women in my life, the women who were supposed to be mentors to me. So I actually feel a lot safer with men because throughout my life, I've had to look out for myself when it came to being around women I was supposed to be able to trust. So I know that every other girl is going to have a different experience, but if you're in any job where you are a good fit for that job and you enjoy doing it, like there's always going to be drawbacks, but you're going to enjoy what you do. And the trades is no different than that. If you're a good fit, you'll love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Oh, my pleasure. And I started pageantry actually just because I wanted to get some experience with women and heal my relationship with women. And like you said, there's a lot of very accomplished women that you wouldn't normally get to meet anywhere else. And it really helped like bond my relationship with women to the point where now I love pageantry. I love modeling. I love being in that atmosphere. And it helps give me a balance so that I can have a more feminine side, be in touch with that, and have healthier relationships with the women in my life. So it makes me want to do more with you guys.
That's so powerful though, for you to share the reason why you
Thank
joined
you.
pageantry. So actually, thank you for sharing that. Because
Thank you.
yeah, that speaks a lot about who you are as a person and your character as well. So that's big. That's huge. Because I was about to ask you, like, why did you get into pageantry? And you already answered.
I think we got that wavelength though.
Yeah, no, we do. We do. I appreciate you so much because you just like it's like the best of both worlds, to be honest. I grew up, it's funny because my dad sometimes says, like, I don't know if I birthed a son or a daughter with you because I do it all. Like, to me,
Mhm.
whatever your gender is, it shouldn't stop you from achieving something, accomplishing something, or just putting yourself out there. And for a while, I always felt comfortable just being around males just because I got bullied a lot by females growing up. So I kind of just I feel like now all my friends are just dudes, that was fine. I was such a tomboy, like growing up, and I just felt comfortable being in like guy sweaters and just, like it was just a comfort for me. And then over time and just actually getting into modeling, it kind of helped heal myself and heal certain relationships and how I viewed women in certain aspects. So it's funny that you share that because I can kind of attest to that too in my own little personal journey. And it kind of removes stereotypes that I had myself, to be honest, and seeing how women can just do it both, like to access their masculine side and their feminine side, and to be able to showcase that yes, it's not just about looks, but I do have the education. I am an intellectual being. I do have a specification. I could work in this field. Like I feel like it's important. It's definitely important. And I'm glad that there's more resources out there. And I'm glad that more women are putting themselves out there and not just doing the job, but showing it as well. So people can see that, oh yeah, okay, I can do this too. It's not just a handyman, it's a woman that can also fix things, work on their own vehicles. Kudos to you on doing that because I just know how to put gas and windshield wiper fluid in my car. But it's definitely important to know. And I feel like I personally can look up to you and what you do. And I'm sure there's a lot of girls out there that can do the same.
Oh, you're so sweet to say all that. I really appreciate the recognition, and I love how eloquent you are because you seem to just understand exactly what I'm trying to say, and you reword it in such an eloquent way. But yeah, actually, this job that I've been on for the past few months has been the one job where I've worked with the most women, and almost every single one I've met has been fantastic, and I love them, and they share like similar experiences throughout the trades so that we're able to bond. Um, but you're right, like there is a difference between like how many women and how many men are in these kinds of jobs. I think a lot of it has to do with the original stereotype of these kinds of jobs. The stereotype that guys are going to go into the jobs when they've got nowhere else to go. And that's not the case anymore. There's skilled trades. You go through an apprenticeship, you come out with a college diploma. I graduated from Humber College. I have a Humber, Ontario diploma from the apprenticeship programs. And it's one of those things where you gotta enjoy what you're doing in order to continue doing it. So I don't want to push anyone into it because I remember in high school I was really pushed towards being a nurse. Now I was a volunteer firefighter for a year and a half
Oh,
before
no
I got into the
way.
Boilermaker.
That's so
Yeah, and I was actually I got hired on with the M&R Fire Rangers, and the Boilermakers hired me first.
cool.
So yeah, so
Nice.
it was one of those things of I just I enjoy what I do a lot now, but if I would have been pushed into being a nurse, I had done medical calls, I had dealt with that stuff. I'm not good with it. I
Yeah.
would not be a good nurse. I'm squeamish when it comes to that kind of thing. I can't do it personally.
Thanks.
I don't get hurt a whole lot because I can't handle doing it. So it it's like, and I would not have been able to do that if I would have been like a full-time firefighter, if I would have been in any other kind of emergency service, but it was the physical labor portion of it that I really enjoyed. So
Yeah.
getting into a skilled trade really helped me out with that. Yeah, I think that like there's always going to be its drawbacks. You're going to have those guys that aren't so nice. You're going to have those people who are set in their ways. You're going to have that if you take a step back and you see the differences in the numbers, you're going to think that it's not welcoming to women, and to some women it's not welcoming to them. But it's one of those things like doing the trade that I do is it's the eighth most dangerous trade as of, I believe, a 2019 survey. And that was not including emergency services, but it was a specified, like it specified my trade and then said other construction trades because of dealing with what we deal with high pressure vessels and in the environments that we deal with. And not only has it been the women fighting for acceptance in the workforce industrially, it's also been the men and women teaming up together to fight for better safety protocols across the board for women and for men and for any other workers in the industry. Yeah. Like the Green Book, the OSHA Green Book was written in blood, and it's unfortunate that it had to be, but people took a stand for it. That's why unions are made, and that's why there's this equality for it. Yeah. But I think that everyone should be unionized. If you're in an industry that requires it, I think that everyone should be unionized, and I think that it really gives an equal playing field for everyone on board.
I agree to that. I definitely agree to that everyone should be unionized, to be honest. Just I used to work in S&C Lavalin, so it's one of North America's largest engineering firm, and honestly, just the diaspora between the unionized and the non-unionized employees, because I used to manage both accounts. Oh, sometimes my heart would go out to those that weren't unionized. You're like, oh, just switch over. Just please switch over. You have so many more benefits, and they really do look after theirs and try to benefit their people as much as they possibly can. But just to wrap up this segment, I first just want to say, Mickey, thank you for your time. Because honestly, what you do acquires a lot of time for those who are unaware. It's over 10-hour days, people. So it requires a lot of time, and I definitely appreciate you for taking that time out of your day to be a part of this segment. It means a lot. And I also just want to thank you too, because for those that will probably find out once this airs, I am a part of a pageant. I'll be representing Canada for Miss Progress International. And Mickey has just been a huge, 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 huge help. Like, I cannot even state how much of a huge help she's been. Such a blessing, and to have such a powerful woman like you in STEM, in pageantry, it just in business, like, you are killing it, and kudos to you. I appreciate you. So I'm sending you your flowers. I can't wait to see you in person again, and just thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited for your photo shoot and for being able to release those pictures. I'm super excited for you for all of this.
Same, I'm looking forward to it. I'm honestly looking forward to it. And honestly, when people do see this segment, I want girls and boys and just individuals to watch this and know that you can do it. Like, you can do it. Put yourself in those spaces. Do the hard work. It does pay off. And you would be successful in it. Do not be intimidated. Do not look at statistics. None of those numbers matter. Only thing that matters is your drive and your passion to do what you want to do. So always go for it. Don't limit yourself, and be fearless. Be like Mickey.
Be like Jill Dean. She's compassionate, she's passionate, and she's a hell of a humanitarian.
That's all you. I'm learning from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill Dean.
Awesome. Thank you for your time, Mickey. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, and I'll see you this weekend.
See you. Bye.
Bye.